Don't be scared of failure. Just go for it and you're going to learn along the way. Flip you. Welcome back. I'm Matt. I'm a part-time reseller and I make what sold videos so you see what's selling right now online. I sell on eBay, Depop, Mercari, Poshmark, and whatnot. And today we're going to talk about kind of being scared to fail or being overwhelmed by everything that has to do with reselling. Today is Sunday the 18th and I have 12 orders going out from the weekend. Let's see what sold. And I sold on 3 platforms over the weekend. eBay is always my top. And then I have a couple orders off of Whatnot. And I actually have one from Mercari, but nothing on Posh and Depop over the weekend, which is kind of weird. Those have been up there behind eBay, but those have been my second and third, and they kind of go back and forth. But on Mercari, I sold these 4 steeds. Never heard of the brand before I found them, but they're cargo shorts. Cargo shorts do pretty good overall, no matter what the brand I found for the most part. These are a size 12, and these sold for $11. Now they do pretty well, as in they'll sell, not for a high amount, depending on the brand. So if you're just getting into reselling or you want to expand it a little bit, it can seem like a lot of information a lot of times. I mean, you need to source items, list items, and ship items. That's a pretty simplified version. You can obviously dive deep into each of those. Where do I source? What do I source? Where should I list it? How should I ship it? Obviously, that depends on what you're getting. I would focus on one platform, learn that one before expanding. If you do decide to cross-list, I sold on just eBay for like the past 4 years, and it was just it hasn't even been a year yet since I've been cross-listing through Vendoo to these other apps, and I don't know all the other platforms that well. I just can list the items through Vendoo, and it's been pretty good of delisting everything. There's still some things I need to work out. I need to probably learn Vendoo a little bit better as well, but I'm just cross-listing my items and I'm making some sales. It doesn't take much to get started. The barrier to entry is really low for reselling, which is great. Anybody can get into it and anybody can succeed at it. And the next platform is Whatnot. I only do static sales. I don't sell live. I'm not interested in that. I sold this pair of old school Vans. I tend to pick up Vans. They end up selling. They don't sell for a whole lot. These only sold for $11.50. These are and they're dingy. They got some stains and discoloration on them. They're women's size 7. And then again, cargo shorts sell not for a whole lot. These only sold for $10.50. These are Aeropostale. Abercrombie ones do better. These are a men's 36. And then as you get into reselling, like I said, you're going to learn things. One thing I would recommend is to start with the Skew System. Because if you dive into it, a lot of times your inventory becomes so overwhelming and it's hard to find things. I just do bins with numbers on them. And then my clothes, H is for hoodies, but really that means any kind of sweatshirt. T is for t-shirts. What else do I have over here? P is for pants. S is for shorts. Where's that? Oh, all the way down more. Anyways, S is for shorts. C is for coats. And then hats. It says hats instead of H because I already have H over there. And then B for button-ups. And then I actually have a W for women's and a J for jerseys. And women's is like bathing suits and leggings, things like that I could put with pants, or maybe I could have an active wear one and have jerseys in with that as well, but I just have them separated. But I have changed my SKU system a few times, and every time I do it, I'm like, why didn't I think about that before? So I started with just these big blue bins in my basement, just stacked up. And eventually that got stacked up high enough to where I got one of these shelves. And on these bins, it says 4B. So it was shelf 1, 2, 3, 4, and then AB, 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 and I was just going to go along that way. AB, if I got another shelf, it would be C, D, E, F, G, kind of going all the way down. And so I had one rack of hard goods, and I had a little plastic rack that I started putting clothes, and I eventually had to separate that just by like shirts on one shelf, just folded up, no bins, and then sweatshirts and coats and pants, and then that outgrew that pretty quick. And then I put a shelf in my garage, and that's why a lot of these have G, because these were the garage bins, G whatever. And then I outgrew my garage, and I got a storage unit. I got a 5x10 storage unit. Had one of these shelves in the very back, and then I had a bunch of these shelves that would roll in and out, so I can have it all shoved in there, pull the shelf out, and get to the bin I wanted. But I still kept with the G, just probably my OCD or something. I had just finally got rid of doing that. Now the rest of them just have the number with no G, but there are items in here that the Skew System will either say 25 or G25, but I know what it is. But now I'm at another crossroads. So they discontinued the shelf with the particle board. Now they have these shelves. That's fine, but they're just a tad bit smaller than the other ones. So on those other shelves where I had 4 of these boxes that would fit perfectly, this one doesn't go in all the way. It's a pain to get them out. I'm tearing the boxes, they're pretty flimsy. And they don't have tops, so I have these covers on them. Those are getting torn, just going in and out. So I'm debating, do I replace all those with these bins? I can only get 3 instead of 4. A little bit of wasted space, but I think it'll work. Definitely stronger. Or do I go to this style box? So these boxes, or both of these boxes are a bigger box like this, just cut in half, and I use both sides of it. This one is a little bit smaller than this one. This one can only fit 3, but these are a lot more sturdy, and they're free. I get these are just the empty boxes from filters that we use at our exhaust system at my work. So these are for like the little paper filters that we change out weekly, and these are the big metal particle filters that the maintenance team does once a month or something, once a quarter. But there's a pallet of just these empty boxes. So I'm debating on, I may go to this. I only get 3 per shelf, which is what I would get with these bins. These on sale are like $6 each, normally $8.50 or so. But like I said, these are free. So I'm like, okay, that kind of answers my question. I might do that, because this is just getting, and once I get 2 rows of shelves in here with only a little bit of room to work, I want to make it as easy as possible. So that kind of answers that question. But then do I replace all these so they match? But then what am I going to do with all these bins if I replace them? So I have, it's bin 40. I have 2 more bins in the garage that I'm going to work. I think after that I'm going to start switching over to those boxes. I'll still get 3 per shelf, and then just start moving all this stuff over. So again, it's a little bit, I like these because it was like, it fit perfect, and it's like I felt like I wasn't wasting any space. But if they just keep getting torn, like I had to retake this one. If they keep getting torn, see that they're flimsy. So anyways, I was debating on replacing all these with these anyways, and then I'm like, okay, well, shoot, why spend the money if I don't have to? So yeah, now I'm like, oh, I should have done this from the beginning. But you don't know what you don't know. When I first started, I don't think I ever would have thought that I'd have this much crap, and that I would be working towards doubling it, tripling it. So that's where I'm at now. And I was going through this earlier, so I kind of already made up my mind. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with those boxes, and at work tomorrow I'll just grab that pallet down and just load up my car full of them and just start. All I do is cut them in half and then tape up the ends, and they're good to go. And I buy these little, I think they're like appliance dust cover is what they're under on Amazon. I don't know, a pack of like 20 of them or something. They're not very expensive. And since the boxes won't be touching, they're not going to be like scraping against the side and getting all torn up, so they should last a little bit longer. I'm in my shop, I'm going to be using tools. Stuff's going to get dusty, so I want to have a lid on these things. So no matter how long you've been doing this, you're always going to learn something new or have a new system you want to implement. And it's not a failure if you learn from it and you learn how to improve from it. And now on to eBay. I have 9 sales. First is this Hermes. This is made in USA, made in Malaysia, vintage trucker hat sold for $10. This vintage Oregon State fitted size 7, 100% wool, New Era 5950, made in USA, sold for $12. Had it listed for a while and finally took an offer. It's a cool hat. It's not my size, and I'm more of a Ducks fan than Beavers. But I think this is a pretty good brand. Revit. It's like a motorcycle brand. Only had this hat listed for a few days. It's a flex fit hat, and it sold for $15. Sold this Carhartt shirt, kind of a faded black. Some stains on it. 4X. I think I had it listed for $12. Had it for a while. Took an offer of $7. And then these New Balance walking shoes. These are the 411s. Sold for, I think, only $19. These Georgia Boot Romeos are a good pickup. And if you don't have a pair of these shoes, these are awesome. These are big with the rednecks here in Oregon. They're just slip-ons. Good for almost anything. They're waterproof up to here. So they're good all around kind of work shoes. I have several pairs of them for myself, but these are a size 14, a little bit too big for me. And these sold for $35. Next up is this pair of men's Abercrombie sweatpants. They're size large. Yeah, I don't know. Kind of like a fleece feel to them. I can see someone wearing these like when they go camping or something to wear at camp. They sold for $15. This pair of women's Levi's Demi Curve, size 3, sold for $12. And this Legoland strap back hat sold for $10. I'm going to start going back to doing a few videos a week. So that's it for the end of this video. Again, don't be afraid to try something new. As long as you learn from it, it's not a failure. Let's do a quick breakdown and see how much I really made off these sales. Alright, so that was 12 sales over the weekend for a total of $168. I take 15% off of that for fees for the sites. And that gives me $143. Another 15% off of that to pay taxes. And that leaves me, which is $22, and that leaves me with $121. And then 12 items, my average buy cost is $2. So take off $24 for the cost of goods, and that puts $97 in my pocket for this weekend. That's it for today. Catch you on the next one. God bless. Peace.